I'm an old infantry sergeant, so I won't use the microphone. You got to get your tax dollars out of me somehow. In 2002, I got out of the hospital at National Defense Medical Center. I'd had 19 surgeries at that point. And my good friends put me on a motorcycle and I started to ride. One of the first events I did was a ride for Dad in Ottawa. Like everybody in this room, I was drawn towards a gathering of motorcyclists that were bent on doing good. So in Ottawa, I saw things at that event, people passing cigarettes back and forth and lipstick being applied at 15 miles an hour and bikes touching other bikes and going down. The kind of stuff you see in a ride with 1,000 bikes or more. So it was a strange event. I'd been riding alone for years, and all of a sudden here I was surrounded by all this energy. It was all positive energy, but there was every expression of freedom in the crowd. Gathered everybody there that day was to support prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is the number one killer of men in Canada. 66 men die a day in Canada of generally an undiagnosed condition. If you get checked and have your prostate examined, and it's free. In fact, they'll do it at the border. I walk with a limp, not because of the parachute accident. I don't mind if Daddy hurts as long as they take the watch off first. These Right for Dad folks, Gary Cairns and Byron Smith, they come from a background. Gary was in a situation in the hospital of Kingston, going through a cancer situation. They have those incredible volunteers that work for the Cancer Society, and there's a gentleman sitting beside him. The fellow's name was Goose. And when the testing was all over and they're all headed to home to do their, afternoon, he asked Goose, Gary Jans asked Goose, what are you going to do this afternoon now that we're all done in here? And Goose said, I got to go home and plan my funeral. I got to pick out a casket. I don't want my daughter or my son to have to do that. I have to get things arranged for my final journey. And that really struck Gary hard. It struck him deep. So he put together a ride in tribute and to raise funds for prostate cancer outreach. If you get examined, it's like a 95% cure depending on the type of cancer. So they've saved countless lives with this Ride for Dad energy. I've had the honor in 2003 being in Kingston, their very first Ride for Dad in Kingston. And like you see here in Atlanticade, there's all these hearts and souls come together for a reason to do good, to enjoy motorcycles, to enjoy them in the freedom of Canada, and to raise funds for all sorts of different needs. I was able to recognize, as was the Governor General, our brother Dale Hicks here, for feeding tens of thousands of people at a food operation right here in Moncton. And there's people in this room that do the same thing right across Canada. Your hearts and hands are invested in Canada and helping people get through their day and help them at the worst times. Ride for Dad has a heavy law enforcement potential with the people that they gather in to help them on the ride, as well as retired police officers, firefighters, and military are on the board of executive right across Canada. At that very first Kingston Ride for Dad, I was just there to support Ride for Dad my second year in 03. Same thing is going to happen here over and over again at Atlanticade and all the different examples we've had at Atlanticade. You meet people in a parking lot, you make a connection. I was in a parking lot. There was a young fella who was a francophone, a member of the Van Deuxième, the Royal 22nd Regiment. And when I saw him about 100 yards across the parking lot, I knew he was in danger. I knew that he was traumatized by his military service. And I knew that he was in danger of hurting himself. And I knew that instinctively because that guy was me 10 years before. So I reached out to him, like you folks do here at Atlanticade. I made a terrible mistake that day. I gave him my phone number. When I got home that night after a powerful ride in the sunshine, raising awareness and money for Ride for Dad and prostate cancer outreach, I got out of the military, out of the hospital, I got on my bike and I bought a little log cabin in the bush north of Kingston. I wanted to be left alone for the rest of my days, and there were 44 messages waiting for me on my phone when I got home. They're all from him. And I knew I couldn't drop the ball. I couldn't just turn my back on him. So I went to an embroidery place. I wanted to identify this guy to the world, that he was a veteran, that he was a rider, and that he was a pure heart and spirit, a hero. So I went to an embroidery place and they said for 249 bucks you can have a 6-inch circle, you can have 6 of them, which is the minimum order, with any logo on there you want. And I'd already gone to McGill University. I had an idea for a veterans writing group in my head. My hands needed to get something done for this young fella. So I went to McGill University, and the artist, this image of the motorcycle on our back with a fella popping a wheelie, comes from a war art guy, a guy named Aldwinkle. And Aldwinkle drew a design standing on the edge of what's called the Devil's Punch Bowl. It was a place where the dispatch riders would train in England before they went to combat in France. And after they did riding in a small town, riding in a big town, riding in a big city, riding cross country, and then they put them under live fire, the last thing they had to do for the final test was to rip right up out of this hole that they called the Devil's Punch Bowl. And irregardless of how you landed on the other side of the obstacle, you were a qualified DR, and you got your dispatch rider wings. So I went to McGill, and Mr. Aldwinkle died, and he left his entire intellectual estate to the people of Canada. So they were proud to see that I captured one of the motorcyclists on this recruiting poster to help Doc LeBrun, and as it turned out, in our second month, we passed 1,000 members across Canada. We were national at the end of our first month, and we were international by 3 months. We've helped raise $5.6 million for Canadian Society in 84 cities across Canada, and it all started with 2 people meeting in a parking lot like you folks do here at Atlanticade every year. So this prostate ride for Dad, we're heading out this afternoon around 2 o'clock. You'll see us marshalling, thanks to Dale and his great staffs and our minions here, over towards the rally itself, and we're going to go and raise awareness of prostate cancer. Doing what I do, I've ridden with them in Vancouver and in Newfoundland and every province in between with Ride for Dad. It's been my great honor to watch them save lives. And at one point, as a male, I was in my 50s, and I thought I better get checked. Sure enough, I had a problem. If I hadn't got checked, I might not be standing here today. So you folks at Atlanticade have kept me rolling all these years, and Prostate Ride for Dad keeps people rolling and save lives at the same time, and enrich lives as we do here at Atlanticade. So on behalf of the Ride for Dad National, the CAV organization who was created at one of their rides, and you folks, that's something I get to see when I ride across the country. You think that this rally, this 5 days here at the East Coast is that's it. Well, it's not. You make connections right across the country that spread from Atlanticade and create energies like the CAB was created, and create energies like there's organizations here today that are representative of the new, fresh ideas and new outreach for Canadian society. So on behalf of Ride for Dad and the CAB organization and Atlanticade, it's a great honor to ride with Atlanticade and Prostate Ride for Dad and to watch that energy spread. Thank you, Dale, and thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Trapper. So we've got $630.